Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Rearden.
Do you feel stuck? Do you feel like you're not enough? You don't have the motivation or the desire to change your current circumstance. Maybe you feel like you have done all you have done. The burden of achieving and the burden of doing more and being the provider and the family man or woman is starting to get to you. You're looking for an easy way out. If that resonates with you, then this episode is for you. If it doesn't, today we're going to even go a step further and learn how to break through our plateaus. So even if you're not feeling all of those negative ideas and negative beliefs, you are still going to get so much out from this episode because we're going to be talking about how to show the world who you are and how to elevate from your current circumstance or your current place of being. Now, I'm going to present with you a conundrum, and the conundrum is going to be something like that is almost confusing, but in the sense, it is so real. And I'm going to put it two ways. The first way is the conundrum. The second way is mindset. The first way is I want you to accept, but don't accept the reality that you're currently living in. This means that I want you to understand where you're coming from, where you are right now, and then to accept it, right? But don't allow that to be definitive. Don't allow that to say, well, this is my reality, and then this is what it is. I want you to accept the reality, but I do not want you to accept the circumstances. There's a difference. This is the mindset part now. The circumstances are everything else in between. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you're having relationship problems. Maybe you are not in the best health possible right now. So there's all these little pieces of your life right now that might be beginning to become brittle. And as they become more brittle, guess what? Now more problems start to kind of come in your way because the more you take a road of inaction or you are not being active or being prolific to who you can become, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to have some problems down the road. Because when we start to live passively, life becomes passive for us. This is not passive income either, because if you have no money in your investment accounts, you're not making any money. How much are you investing in life? Not many people will invest in life. People will give themselves this idea of something good that's going to happen. They think of a better tomorrow. They dream of the perfect life, but the perfect life is you every single day waking up and saying, I'm going to try again. I'm going to do what only I can do. I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm not going to sit idle. I'm not going to just simply wait for my demise. But yet there's so many people with this mindset. They feel stuck. And I can understand why you feel stuck. Maybe you are in a specific type of career or job, for example, and you make a certain amount of money a year. So let's say you're in a job and you make $50,000 a year. You might say, well, I am in this credit card debt. Maybe you are trying to go on more vacations. Maybe you have a wedding coming up. There's, a lot of things that are happening and you feel stuck within your budget. So this is the feeling of stuck where you feel like I'm capped. There's nothing else I can do. Now, of course, there's people who will say, well, if I want to make more than $50,000, I need to go back to school. So you go back to school and then you go that chain. Maybe you make $65,000. Now, eventually you're going to hit that plateau again because you're going to adjust the lifestyle. This is not to say that you can't go to college, you can't go to school, you can't get different types of certifications. This is more to say we need to figure out something that's going to be a long-term fix. It's not so much of an income problem where we are capped at our income. It's more so of, can we be financially free? And financially free just essentially means I am going to be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want to do it. Besides, or on the other hand, not being constricted from a budget. Now, we all necessarily need budgets in the sense of we're not going to go out and spend frivolously at the strip club, at the mall, going to Vegas, at the casinos. We're not going to do that. We're going to allow our money to still work for us. We're going to do it in a way that's going to help bring prosperity into our life. But when we don't have disposable income and when we feel like we're in the rat race, it can be daunting. And I understand many people right now, they are not even going to push more into 2025 with this hope that they can make a change in their life. They're looking, they're scrolling, they're trying to find the answer. Well, maybe today we can find the answer for you. One of the first things I would do if I was in a place that was not going to be good for me long term, I would get a piece of paper and I would write down all of the things that I'm doing incorrectly and that I could do better. Now, you can say, or do better, rather than just saying, all right, I'm the problem. I need to figure out the solutions, because that I is very powerful. And if you don't use it correctly, like, I can be extremely negative to myself and I'm going to push myself because of it. Now, this is because I have a strong mindset. If you don't have a strong mindset, then I don't want you to be negative to yourself. I want you to be understanding, but then I also want you to be real. I want you to be realistic, right? Going back, accept your reality. Do not accept your circumstance. There's a difference. Your circumstance is life right now, right? You might be living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Maybe your water is going to get cut off. Your gas is going to get cut off. Your car just got repoed. Maybe you're going to be a couple of weeks late for the rent and the landlord is threatening to evict you. We are in trouble right now, right? Now, of course, this is not a good time to get coaching, right? Because you have to invest in yourself for coaching. But this is a good time to listen to personal development material. This is a good time to go to the library to read personal development books, self-help books. Figure out how you can propel yourself, launch yourself. Now, once you give yourself the foundation, then we can start to elevate ourselves when we get to that point. But right now, we're in survival mode, right? So we're in that survival aspect. We need to look at the problem, and typically we are the problem. I know it doesn't sound pretty. I know it doesn't sound, glamorous that I am the problem. I'm the reason for my current circumstances. You are the solution. Also, you can change that. So money is one of the things that can always be made. And I understand people can get a job, they can get a career, they can be an entrepreneur, they can do real estate. And I know there's going to be people who are successful and there's people who are not going to be successful, right? 50% of businesses in the first 5 years end, right? They don't make it because it is so daunting, it's so difficult, it's so challenging. If everyone could do it, everyone would do it, right? But most people say, I'm going to fall into a security blanket. I'm going to fall into this false sense of security. So they get a 9-to-5 job, and then eventually inflation rises up, or your area income rises to the point where now you're strained. You're no longer flexible. Because if you think about it, if you really think about it, you could get a remote work job, work from anywhere in the world, and move to Thailand, right? Thailand, I believe rent is like $250 USD a month. So if you're paying $800, $900, $2,200 in rent, or maybe even a mortgage, you can say, I can go live someplace else for a fraction of the cost. And I'm not over here kicking you out of America or anything, or kicking you out of your area where you live. It could be Austria, it could be UK, wherever you are. You get to choose if you want to stay there. The issue, what I have found when it comes to people staying stuck where they are, is that they don't feel as if they can fly. They feel like their wings are clipped, like they have been caged. And this is a secret I tell most men, especially young men. I know how difficult it can be to go out and leave the nest. In a sense, as a man, if you can stay with your parents until you're like 28 years old and not have to pay rent, and you use that money that you make after you're done with high school or you get your GED to elevate yourself, this means you started a business, you got real estate properties, investments, day trading, etc., whatever it be. You have used that money that you would have spent in rent and taking care of yourself, and you just stay with mom and dad for a little bit longer. I know it's not so glamorous, and all the girls are probably like, oh, you still live with your mom, you still live with your dad or your grandma, your grandpa, whoever, right? But understand something. When it comes to dating men, guess what? When you're in your 20s or whatever, you can go to the club, get a girl easy, not a problem. But when you're trying to get someone who is going to be that family woman for you, or woman vice versa, you're looking for the man. You're looking for a man that is established. So if you spend those years, man, I'm talking to you, if you spend those years building yourself up rather than using that money for rent, you invested and you spent, again, 7 years investing in yourself, in your business, in stocks, whatever it be, you're going to be, again, probably the top 15% earner in America, right? Or maybe even in the world. The issue is that we are told we have to go out and we have to do it ourselves. And so we do. And then at some point we get stuck. We get a flat tire and we say, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. Just the other day, I got a flat tire. And I don't know what is wrong with this car, but this is like my third issue with the tires, or maybe even my fourth issue with the tires. And I'm thinking it's either me or it's the car. And I'm going to put the blame on me, right? I'm driving in Austin, and Austin is a work zone. It's a construction zone. There's always construction workers working on this building, working on this in this area. And before you know it, all these nails and all these bolts are riddled on the road. When I was at the tire shop, because I had to get a new tire, I was like, this is an opportunity for me to pay attention. Not so much of the inconvenience it causes me to not have the car, or the car to be, out of commission because there's a nail in it or a bolt, or I need new tires, a flat. And started to look at other people coming in with the same problem. So I saw company trucks. I saw, regular people with their kids coming in. And they all say, hey, I have this problem with my car, right? My tires are deflated. I hit a metal piece in the road or something. I'm not the only one. So even though my world might feel like it has gotten tossed to the wayside or is tossed into the plethora of chaos, and I'm like, listen, why me, right? I might be praying, why, Lord? Why me? But the reality is not so much that they're giving me problems that I can't handle. They're just, giving me something to pay attention to. And we don't necessarily pay attention when things are good. And I want you to think about it. Think about it like a relationship when everything was good, right? Typically, you don't pay attention to those relationships unless it's a birthday, a holiday, special event, something along those lines. But when things are shaky, man, you pay attention, right? I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied. And you look for a way out. Most people, when they're trying to get to a better situation, they only look at that better situation. They say, this is going to be the situation I want. So they're living in the future. Well, guess what? The future is not going to help you when you need to be living in the present. Now, it's even worse to live in the past, because if you're living in the future, at least you can be a dreamer. At least you can figure out the goal, right? Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. Now, the end is going to be in the future. So if you can identify, hey, this is the end for me. This is where I want to be. Let me reverse engineer what I need to do. So for example, let's say you are a coach. You want to build a coaching program. How does that coaching program look to you when everything is done? Now, if you do not know what it will look like to you, I encourage you to check out what other coaches are doing. Just type in coaching programs on Google, and you will see all of these different types of coaching programs. Tony Robbins, for example, right? You don't have to like the guy, but he is a businessman, right? Maybe you want to be a business coach like or similar to Tony Robbins, or have big events like Tony Robbins. So you can see what he's doing. You can say, do I want this? Do I want to change it? Do I want to mix it up a little bit? And you figure out, what do you want to do? Now, of course, you can niche down and say, okay, I'm only going to work with women. I'm only going to work with men. I'm only going to work in careers. I'm only going to work in relationships. And you can do that too. And you could become concise in how you're going to promote it through funnels, through sales, through email marketing, through targeted ads. All of these things can be beneficial for you, but you need to know what the end product is going to be. It's not so much of, oh, I hope, or I want this many clients, or, oh, I hope, my company can do X, Y, Z amount of money. Well, this is all great, right? It's all great to have and write down, but this is not the end. This is not what's going to get you to elevate yourself or to get you to the next realm. You need to say, you know what? If I want to get this, I need to see, or I need to understand or give myself a feeling of how I would feel when I have it. So you're at the end, right? You're on stage and you see a crowd full of people, thousands of people, right? Clapping and cheering and maybe standing up and giving you an ovation, right? Because they know they're about to get something wonderful, something magnificent. But we just kind of pass that off as a dream. We pass it off as a fantasy that may or may not happen. Well, I understand that people might feel daunted or they might feel like inferior when they start comparing themselves to someone else. I understand in high school, maybe you might be comparing yourself to someone else quite a bit. Oh, this person's really good at this sport, or really good at dancing, or is very pretty, gets all the guys, or very handsome, gets all the girls, sports, athletic, whatever. You can come up with this idea of someone else is so magnificent. What about me? Well, what about you, right? What about you are you going to show the world? What about you are you going to say, hey, I want to say this is who I am? When you can get clear on that, you're not going to get stuck. You're not going to feel stuck anymore because you're going to be so focused on the result. Your focus just kind of elevates saying, this is what I want. And you become so hyper focused and you become dauntless, essentially, where you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to stop until I get it. Now, many people, they say they stop right before success. They stop right before the goal because it becomes almost like a fear. Success can become a fear because if you get it, maybe you can lose it. Or if you get it, like how much work is necessarily from the fear point, from that plateau point to the next level point, right? And this is where some people are that might not feel stuck, or they might not feel like they are living in a bad situation. They have money, they can pay the bills. So they're at that that transition where they can either elevate themselves or stay stagnant. And the issue with staying stagnant is you can only stay stagnant for so long before rot happens. And rot is essentially with your mind, with your life, everything starts to break apart. Think of it in the sense of if you allow your car just to sit there in the driveway, eventually over the years, even though you have never driven it, the car is going to deteriorate. The gas lines, the tires, everything starts to break down. And you might say, well, I haven't been driving the car. Why is it not working? Well, we have to keep on moving in order to remain functional. Very similar to the body. The body is in constant vibration. It is constantly moving. When you're sleeping, when you are just standing still, when you're sitting, you might not feel like you're moving, but your body is in constant vibration. The moment your body stops vibrating is the moment life ceases to exist. But we think that remaining stagnant and sitting on the sofa and to do the things that seem easy are going to be beneficial long term. That is not the case. We need to continually challenge ourselves. It's not so much that after high school or after college, we had such a wonderful high school, wonderful college. Guess what? I don't need to work out anymore. I don't need to play sports anymore. And then before you know it, you're 40 and you can't even walk up a flight of stairs. What is happening? The issue is we think that in the phases of our life, we can just stop doing things because we are at a certain point. But the reality is we don't stop doing things. We can delegate things. And of course, you can't delegate your health and your fitness. You have to do that yourself. Now, you can get a trainer. The trainer is going to kind of push you and things like that. Essentially, you are still doing the work. The trainer is just being a facilitator, where I can facilitate someone to be in a better mood or to be in a better environment, to take the action, to be in a better health. In the whole nutshell of everything, we are the proponent. We are the proponent that makes things good. We are also the proponent that makes things bad. And if you are a person that's feeling stuck, it's just because you have decided not to be the proponent that gets unstuck. It's a simple change, but it's so complex. The complex part is your mind. Your mind is riddled with hurdles It's riddled with challenges. It's riddled with limits. And it's telling you to stop. It's telling you not to be great. It's telling you to not show the world that you can be magnificent, if not once more, finally. What can we do to get that out of yourself? What can we do to urge that fire within you, to stoke that fire within you, to say, hey, today is the day. I'm going to light up my life. I'm going to light up the world. But it's not easy. It requires dedication, discipline, consistency, a good, strong mindset that is not going to only look at the successes and be happy, but look at the failures as stepping stones to the goal, to the end piece of what you would like to see for yourself. The end in mind, what is that for you? Write it down. Maybe that end is you want to, have a family. You want to have a big house. You want to have a nice car. You want to have and wear nice clothes. And there's nothing wrong with these goals. And I don't want you to feel or think that you're materialistic for wanting these things. Now, there's a time and place to get some of these things. For example, if you are trying to grow your business, maybe buying designer purses and designer clothes and fast cars and things like that might not be the best thing. Now, of course, you can leverage what you buy, maybe so social media, etc., and you can give the persona of someone who is successful. Number one, you feel successful. And number two, people believe you are successful. So they will say, hey, what is this person doing? They're successful. So there's different ways that you can help make your dreams come true. What I have found is if you are trying to start, you have to make the step so small, so simple, stupid. I don't know what that step is for you, but if you can figure that step out, right? Of course, if I'm working with my clients, we can figure that step out for them. But we do something that is so easy. Maybe you wake up in the morning and you start brushing your teeth with your left hand instead of your right hand, right? We're basically changing how our brain is operating, right? We're just basically beginning to re-hardwire our brain. Instead of using what we typically would use, we're using what we wouldn't typically use. And then eventually we're going to start to use the things inside of us, in our mind, in our heart, in our soul, whatever, body, mind, and soul. We're going to use the things that we haven't been using. We're going to be using our curiosity. We're going to be using our ambition. We're going to be using our discipline. We're going to be using our strength. We're going to be using our animosity. We're going to be using our hopeful nature. These things can be uplifting. They don't have to be anchors. You don't have to feel stuck. But if you are feeling stuck, it's a great opportunity for you to get clear on what you want to do. It's a great opportunity for you to say, you know what? My life can be changed. I can change my life. So you now are faced with a mission. Will you show the world who you can become? Will you reach for the destiny that was present or placed for you? Because at the end of it, are you going to have regrets for the things that you haven't done? Or are you going to live a life that was fulfilled and that you didn't hold back at any moment or at any pivotal point? You said, I'm going to live to the fullest. Fulfillment is literally just living to the fullest. So don't feel like you're stuck. Don't feel like your reality right now is what is going to be in 10 years from now. You get to be the creator. You get to be the engineer. You get to create the blueprints that is either going to create the life that you're going to be proud of or a life that will never be attained because you never put yourself out there. So put yourself out there. Give yourself an encouraging nudge. Give yourself this idea that things can change. But in order for that change to happen, you have to want it. Most people don't change because they want to, though. Most people are Spartan kicked into change. They have a trauma, they have a dilemma. Eventually, they are met with no other option but to take action. The reality is, you can take action today. You can take action right now. Figure out what you need to do to create the foundation, to create the runway for you to change everything. Maybe it's a bit more motivation every day. Maybe some journaling. Maybe it's reading some more books. This can be the best place to begin for someone who might feel lost. And if you are feeling overwhelmed, begin to journal, begin to meditate, do yoga. This is going to be the best way, or some of the best ways, for you to dissipate what your mind is thinking or what you are feeling. There's a simple rule of thumb. When your mind is full, you write. And when your mind is empty, you consume. Consume knowledge, consume wisdom. And then when you can do that, almost like machinery, good engineering, when every time your mind is full, you write or you get rid of the thoughts. And every time your mind is empty, you give it something good. Not so much of the mindless stuff, what we do on social media. So there's magic to mindset. There's magic to your reality. There's magic to your future. There is still magic that you can present and show to the world. And when you do, you're not going to feel stuck anymore. You're not going to feel like there's a plateau. You're not going to feel like there's a limit for you. You're going to keep on winning. And when you keep on winning, things just become easy. I understand right now things might not feel easy. But one day when you look, you're going to say, whoa, I remember all the challenges that I had and all the hurdles and obstacles that I had to run through and go through. Most people, when they finally get through those lives, they look back at the challenges and they say, oh, those were nice, because they understand something. It made them who they are. Become the person that you can become. Don't shy away from the reality that you're living. Don't shy away from the hard moments. Embrace them.